Guys, you want to talk about clutch? Just look at the man next to me. His name is Tomaz from Field Tennis Instruction. He's amazing. And he came in just on time. He was giving me a little heart attack. Then, boom, he comes in and he's got the best line. He's like, well, that's what today's all about, tennis timing. So the timing was perfect. How are you doing today, Tomaz?
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm ready for the live stream. Got my stuff ready, so ready to go.
Good. Now I've got some background noise here. Hold on. Let me. I think it's because this. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, before we get into this, though, before we get into your topic, I want to give a shout out to the leaderboard, the TennisCon 9 leaderboard. If you guys are under a rock with TennisCon, we're competing for 3 amazing prizes. 8 people will train with me in Maribon here in Atlanta. Second prize is going to win a PongBot ball machine, which is a smarter ball machine than I am. And third prize is going to win a fast track train aid. You guys are amazing. We're up to day 5 now. So this is serious commitment. You've watched probably 20 videos at this point, and we have a 38-way tie. 38-way tie for first place. Means you've maxed out on points. That is pretty incredible. So I just want to read some shout outs here. Dave Trammell, Mike Roger, Christopher Pollock, Jude, Lori, Beth Hill, Deborah Roberts, Edmund, Jeffrey, V, K, Eric, Mary, LW, Jennifer, Lynn, Janine, Luke, Hope, Hannah, Venkat, Andre, Andrew, Mark, Sally, who's going to get this, by the way. I'm sending this in the mail today to you, Sally. Kristen, Tom, Karen, Christine, Steve, Lillian, and Greg. You are all tied for first place. And here's the crazy thing, Tomaz. The person in 50th place has 26 points.
Fantastic.
So it's pretty amazing. And then I want to just show a picture of one of our totally obsessed tennis players, Kay, right here. She got this right here. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into your topic. What are we going to be talking about today?
We'll be talking about rhythm exercises, tracking the ball, watching the ball, and so on. Very good for timing, rhythm, and things that are oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah. So why do you think people struggle to get into a rhythm, into a flow in their tennis games to begin with? What are some of the problems and challenges they have?
Well, we can look at it from 2 ways, the competition and non-competition. So in practice, they're usually very focused on technique. That's what most of the instruction is in tennis. And so they're thinking about how to move their body parts, how to lag their wrist on the forehand, where their elbow should go, and so on. And so they are so focused on technical instruction that then, of course, it's not their fault at the moment, but the mind is then completely occupied with these technical thoughts, and then they fail to properly judge the ball. They lack the CPU power at that moment because it's all devoted to technique that they're not paying attention to the ball well, and then they're late and too close and so on. And then, of course, the stroke doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the other angle is, of course, in competition, they are, for one, stressed out, for two, monitoring their opponents, where they're going, what they're doing, where the target is, but generally just stress, maybe panic state in the match. And they don't really pay attention to the ball. And again, as you know, tennis is very difficult sport. Ball travels very far in a very short amount of time, and so it's difficult to time. And the moment we don't have full attention to the ball, we are a bit off, whether too late, too early, or a bit too far, too close.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So are you going to give us mostly exercises to that's going to help us in match play or with our practices? Or are they going to kind of sink into both? How would you characterize what you're going to be helping people do today?
Well, the long-term goal is that this automates, same like muscle memory. So they are for practice. In the match, I mean, they can recall what they've been doing here, but then usually, if in the match they become completely focused on one of the rhythm exercises, then they will not be able to really think tactically, right? In the match, they need to make decisions where to play, how to play, and so this needs to run somewhere in the background, like
So
for
kind
a
of in the
skilled player.
subconscious, you want to do
Yeah.
these rhythm drills in practice enough to where they subconsciously show up in a match. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I want to give a couple of before we get going. I see some of you all here in the chat, and I want to acknowledge you. So let's see. I want to put. We had Charles. Look at this. See that? Had a few years ago visiting Slovenia, coached by you, Tomaz. That's pretty good. Charles is a great guy.
Fantastic. Long time ago, Charlie. Long time ago.
And then in the car, this guy's in the car heading home from tennis. He's so dedicated. And then we have Steve from Los Angeles, barely awake. Hello, Coach Crunch and Thomas. All right, good. Before we get into your drills, something I've been thinking about lately is, in tennis practice, there's so many drills dedicated to get you into a good rhythm, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope this doesn't mess you up, but there's so many drills dedicated to get you into a good rhythm. Lots of baskets of feeding, and go to drills, and there's all kinds of energy and maybe music, and everybody just they typically play much better. They play in a match, and then when you really look at a match, I mean, tennis is a game designed to just constantly break rhythms, stop, start,
Mm-hmm.
these awkward 25, 30-second rest in between points, the
Yes.
nerves, right? So, so
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that? Is it important to also maybe in practice stuff that maybe breaks your rhythm a little bit, so then you can get like I look at Novak Djokovic and I go, that guy can bounce the ball 19 times and then serve and get right into a rhythm of point. So he's obviously comfortable with that space of time,
Mm-hmm.
and then he can just go about his business. Where I think a lot of us, that would be very difficult to have so much time in between hitting the ball and then get right into a rhythm.
Exactly. It's difficult. It's not like, like games like, let's say, basketball, you're watching NBA and it just keeps going, right? It's just nonstop, shoot, basket, okay, let's go. You miss the basket, rebound, right? It's just going, 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 or like we know football, soccer in Europe, or handball, or
Mm-hmm.
similar sports. For example, I played volleyball, has more breaks, right? Is a break and then you go and you serve. um, so yeah, that is difficult part of tennis. It does not naturally flow like some sports that just keep going, like basketball. It is challenging, and the other thing that is challenging is the actual changing of the rhythm, which is paradoxically more difficult at lower levels because the game is more chaotic. Players are less controlling the ball well, they're not hitting the ball clean, and so the ball is all over the place, short, long, hacking,
Yeah.
chopping.
Yeah.
It's very chaotic. Whereas the higher level you go, I mean, unless the players specifically want to break rhythm, if you rally with them, they will give you very good rhythm. Like Djokovic, if you go ask Novak Djokovic, can we do hit, and he slows down a little bit so that you can hit, or I can hit, or a 3-0, 4-0 player can hit. Of course, he can slow down. That would be wonderful for a 4-0 player.
Right.
The same way as we coaches, we slow down a little bit for
Yeah.
their to get on their speed level, on their skill level, and that's really good for their rhythm, right? We give them the
Yes.
right rhythm, we control the ball, and actually when like 4-0, 5-0 levels play, it's a much better tempo, much better rhythm, than 3.0 or 2.5. It's very chaotic. So it's a bit paradoxically that it's actually more difficult at around 3.0 than around 4.0 to be in the rhythm in a ball exchange.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I'm like, because the more you teach, you start to really empathize with your students. You're like, man, this is tough. This is almost tougher than if I were to go out and play. It's a tougher challenge because
Mhm.
everything is so unpredictable. And you know, you often will tell your student, hey, you know, you need to stand here. That's going to protect you. And then all of a sudden, this crazy shot after, inevitably after you coach somebody to stand in what should be the right spot, there's
Mhm.
this crazy shot that comes, and then the student looks at you like, you know, and you're like, all right, I'm
Yes.
sorry, but in general, you know. So
Yes.
I
It's very
totally agree.
chaotic, very unpredictable. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very good. Okay, so how would you like to conduct this? Would you like to get into some drills to tell people to do? I'm gonna let you steer the ship a little bit.
Yeah. I will try to motivate people a little bit. I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
or just for understanding why do we need this. Um, so give me a second to
hmm
share.
And as Thomas is pulling that up, if you guys are here because you got the email most likely, and in that email too, Thomas has given away a 15-point PDF that shows you these drills as well. So make sure that you go back to your email. I'll try and also find the link and put in the chat, but you have the link in your email. Okay, so I see this,
Yeah. Okay.
and,
You see this?
and I'm adding it to the stage. Looks great.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So this is from On Form, and this is maybe the first thing for players to realize. So this is just me rallying with my friend Urban. So what I would like players to realize, that tennis is initially, if I zoom in a little bit, here's my friend hitting a ball there. So he's hitting a ball, and then the first thing that happens, right? So from the split step, you see my reaction to the ball flight, right? So this is perception, right? So number one. So let me see if I can write here. Just a second. Perception, right?
Hmm.
So that's the first thing that runs for a tennis stroke. And then the second thing is movement, right? Is movement. We're trying to get in the position for the ball. So it's movement. So let me put this one here. Movement. And only when we get to the ball, we get to the stroke technique, right? So let me just put this here and then we can discuss. Stroke technique. So perception, movement, stroke technique, right? So much of the instruction usually is on technique there on the player. Sorry, I'm not on the iPad. So perception, movement, stroke technique. So that's the sequence, right? And so much is on stroke technique for players, and they usually blame stroke technique when something is off, when they miss the ball. The second one is movement. They don't pay attention to the movement. And the actual cause of the whole problem could be perception, right? They don't read the ball well, and they get too close. They hit too late, and so on. And oftentimes, stroke technique. If something is wrong with stroke technique, so if I clear this, and like something is wrong with the stroke technique, they will of course feel it, and their coach will detect stroke technique problem. But actually, everything started with perception. They didn't read the ball well enough, and the rest are consequences, right? So most of the times technical problems are not actually mechanical problems. They're problems of perception, or could be a problem with the movement. You're not moving in a coordinated way. Your footwork is not good. You're not stable when you come to the ball, and so on. And then technique has to, in a way, deform. You have to deform in a certain way to manage that situation. And then the technique is very obvious mistake, but it is actually a consequence, not the cause. So that's maybe kind of like the first thing I would like players to realize, that everything starts with perception when the ball starts flying, right? So this is perception of the ball flight, the depth, the spin, the rotation, and so on. And based on this perception comes movement, and after the movement and positioning and stability and so on comes now stroke technique. And again, most of the instruction is just on this part 3, right? Is on this part 3. Sorry, it's not very nice. I'm using my mouse to draw, right? So on part 3 is all the instruction, and most of the problems actually start here on part 1 with perception. So maybe that's like first thing I would like to make players aware.
Very good. So how do you start improving that perception and reading the ball early?
Okay, so let me show you another picture. I'm going to stop this one, and I'm going to share another one.
That's very good. So do you have OnForm on your laptop?
Yeah, you can put OnForm on the laptop. It's a bit trickier to manipulate the screen, but it works just fine. You can use the trackpad or the mouse, but it's just not so accurate.
I have it on my phone, but I haven't tried to put it on my laptop.
Yeah, you can put it on the MacBook.
Very cool.
All right.
Okay, here we go. I have it up there, my friend.
All right. So this is also maybe interesting. I was poking into ChatGPT and AI a few weeks ago, going a bit deeper into hand-eye coordination, watching the ball and so on, to get a bit more granular on what is going on. I wanted to write a short blog post on that, and I was doing some research, and I found this very interesting for people also to realize that, tennis is not like just watching the ball, that it's a bit more complex, and that they realize, right, that quite a few things have to go on with our eyes and processing of the ball flight for us to time the ball well, right? So if I go quickly through these 5 bullet points, right, for hand-eye coordination, accuracy and timing, the ability to precisely hit or interact with a moving object at the optimal moment, that's just one component of watching the ball. The other second one is the visual skill required to follow fast or erratically moving balls. That's a different skill, right? Depth perception, so the ability to accurately judge the distance between objects in motion, which is vital for intercepting, which is what tennis sport is a specific skill, right, in visual ability to track the ball. Visual processing speed, the rate at which visual information is acquired, interpreted, and translated into appropriate motor responses, right? That's what these sports with balls are. And so this is a specific skill, right, that we are not born with this skill naturally at high level. And we need to use specific drills or just play various games that are going to improve this ability, this skill. And fifth one, anticipation and decision making, the capacity to predict the trajectory of a ball or an opponent's action and to make split-second strategic choices based on visual cues, right? So it's quite a complex process, and I believe that once you see the complexity of like watching the ball, and you realize there's quite a few components to it that are separate, and all these are necessary to be at a relatively good skill level, relatively high level for us to play tennis, then I hope that this motivates players to devote a bit more time to this part of tennis and not just wrist leg and follow through over the shoulder, right? If I exaggerate a little bit.
Yeah. Very good. We have a good question. I definitely encourage people to ask questions. So
Mhm.
from time to time, we're going to stop the presentation. This is very true. This has been on a lot of videos, especially Patrick Mortoglu, who's
Mhm.
blowing up the internet, about the dominant eye and ball tracking.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, there's definitely something about the dominant eye. I wish I'm a bit disappointed in tennis highest levels, talking about USPTA and ITF in Europe, that they do not go deeper into this subject and then share their findings from sports science to tennis coaches, down below, the way it has been done, for example, in NBA or baseball and other sports, let's say in the US. I read these studies many, many years ago, like 20 years ago, how they studied the dominant eye of the player when they come from NCAA maybe to NBA or even before, and then they teach them a different way to shoot and how to align their arm based on the dominant eye. And
Hmm.
in baseball, how they need to position their head and so on in order to read the ball. So it is very important, and this thing does exist, and I wish there was more knowledge in tennis about that. And now, personally, I think what matters the most is not so much about being super knowledgeable about what to do and what stance to take in relation to the dominant eye, especially for adult tennis players, because a lot of their or most of their movements or techniques are already ingrained of many years after many years of playing, and to tell them that they should play now more semi-open stance because they're right eye dominant is not going
Hmm.
to help them, because they're probably not able to reprogram
Yeah.
their positioning in the same way as you can coach a 9-year-old boy, where maybe this kind of from deeply sports science, and you can kind of reprogram to do that differently. So I think what is my practical experience in terms of dominant eye is just to realize that on one side, usually you perceive the ball better than on the other side. So maybe you see the ball better on the forehand side than on the backhand side. That's like the first realization, that you realize, oh, for some reason, I see the ball clearly, like more continuously, and I'm not late. And on the other side, I don't see it so well. And then ask yourself and experiment with how to position your head a little bit different, experiment with different head positioning as the ball is approaching and as you're watching the ball, to see if you can match the perception of the better side to the weaker side. That is my practical advice, and you don't have to really know which eye is the dominant one and how do we need to stand, just in practical experimentation, realizing that there is a difference and that you can help yourself a lot with slightly different head positioning and really good perception of the ball over there, and you're going to hit it cleaner. I think that's what I've been doing with my students over the
Hmm.
years, this more hands-on approach rather than going in deep down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out what really happens and what kind of stance and what kind of grip to do based on the dominant eye.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Very good. Continue on, my friend. This is
All right.
fantastic.
So this is just first part of motivation to kind of, give people some food for thought for this, that it is quite complicated thing to do, to track a moving object. And I also tell my students when we come on the court, that first thing we're going to do some rhythm exercises and ball tracking exercises for our eyes and mind to warm up from a normal daily life, because tracking a tennis ball moving, even just playing mini tennis, is probably 100 times more difficult for the eyes and the brain to track that than in our normal life, looking at the computer screen at the fixed distance, or having a meal, or even driving a car, where we
Hmm.
have to process a little bit better the distances and speeds. I think is still way, way easier than just tracking a tennis ball. And then
Hmm.
especially from baseline to baseline, where it takes like less than 2 seconds for the ball to fly 80 feet. And we
Hmm.
need to move in about 1.5 to 2 seconds to the ball and hit it precisely in the sweet spot. That is incredibly difficult for the eyes and hand-eye coordination and footwork to put that together, right? And so I think it's important to start with that at first before we do any technical things that are gonna overwhelm our mind, and then we cannot find our way out of that technical thinking, and we cannot really pay attention to the ball.
Mm. Okay. Now, with the eye exercises and things like that, are you going to show us one? Is it in the PDF?
Yeah, I will show
What?
you all the drills that are in the PDF. Yeah, we're gonna
Okay,
go
great.
through the video. I actually posted this video a long time ago. It's on my public YouTube channel.
Oh,
So the information is there. The video is there. It's also a post on my website with the pictures and everything.
oh, great.
Yes, it's just something that's oftentimes overlooked, and I would like to bring attention to these drills again to players
Mm-hmm.
around the world, because I'm doing them all the time with my students for a few minutes in every session, and they
Mm-hmm.
always get better in just a few minutes.
Mm.
And they report to me, okay, and then I ask them, well, what do you feel? And they will say, well, I feel more time. I feel good rhythm. I know when to engage my legs and so on. And all it takes like 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to do these drills.
Yeah. I noticed that Iga, have you seen her where she lays on the ground? Her coach like puts the ball back and forth. She's like a cat watching it, you know. So
Yeah,
have
no,
you,
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen
yeah.
that.
Yeah. She does it
But yeah.
before she goes out on the court, where
Hmm.
she'll lay on the ground and her coach will stand above her and, you know, have these balls going back and forth, and she watches it, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure, sports science has progressed a lot in the recent years on that topic, and they want to stimulate, the visual system in the beginning, like warm up, just like I was saying. And
Mm-hmm.
it would be good if this would trickle down to the, let's say, average coach in our world, in our communities, and to use that knowledge.
Yeah.
So I do what I can to share my knowledge. I don't know everything, but you can see it's very complex, but I can see the benefits all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of tennis con. Darren Cahill gave an interview where he was talking about, finding a coach for the pro tour, and he basically said if you're trying to interview a coach to coach you on the pro tour, of course it's a little different. And he said if the coach basically says, "Oh, I can handle every department," from strategy to technique to
Hmm.
mental to getting you physically ready, he's like, run. He's like,
Hmm.
at that level, no one knows everything, and
Yes.
the coach that tells you that is
Hmm.
is definitely not the coach for you. I thought that was pretty
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
All right.
You bringing up
Shall we
another?
continue?
Yeah.
All right. Let me find the right window. So
All right.
here we go. You got it?
I got it. There it is.
Okay, so this is like a little, without the introduction. I have a little bit long introduction in that video, but um, this is the video where I'm showing all the drills. So we're gonna go quickly through these 15 drills. So get the ball into clear focus as it comes out of the bounce. That is drill number 1. Here I'm just kind of demonstrating like this, seeing the ball. And so here I'm play mini tennis. We're gonna do basically most exercises. I'm gonna lower the volume here. So here I'm rallying with my assistant Kaya a little bit. You can watch like this over my shoulder. So drill number 1, get the ball into focus as it comes out of the bounce. That is the first drill. So trying to see the ball very clearly. So all the drills can be first done on mini tennis like this. And you're basically just asking yourself, or if I'm the coach, I'm asking the player, do you see the ball in focus? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes what can be annoying to the player, as we coaches, we tell them to watch the ball, and it might be annoying to them. They're not really saying that, but everyone sees the ball, right? If they didn't see the ball, they would not be able to hit it. So when we tell
Mm-hmm.
them watch the ball, and we don't clearly specify what we actually mean, or even if you don't know, maybe the coach doesn't know, then there's a bit of a discrepancy, because the player is thinking, I'm watching the ball, man. I'm hitting it with the racket. Obviously, I'm watching the ball.
Mm.
but there are levels of attention that are different. We can watch the ball with very low attention and we're going to still hit it on a relatively big racket face. But when you want to play better tennis, you have to hit it in the sweet spot, which is relatively small.
Mm.
And so in order to hit the ball in the sweet spot, where the ball goes the nicest off the racket, the easiest, like a trampoline, and you have the best control, then you have to watch it with higher level of attention, right? And so these drills, like the first one, do you see the ball in focus as it comes out of the bounce? So like this, like at this moment, you should see the ball in focus. That is what I'm asking the player. So not just a blurry yellow thingy flying towards you, but like literally you see the ball clearly, the best according to your current eyesight. You see the ball clearly spinning, right? It's going to be spinning one way or another, usually forward after the bounce, but depends a little bit on the surface and so on and how they hit it. But you're going to see the ball, and this is the first drill. Do you see the ball clearly after the bounce?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So that's the first thing I ask the player. Drill number one: do you see the ball clearly after the bounce as it comes, like after the bounce into your focus?
Yeah, and I know a lot of coaches over the years, like I used to be a coach, like, oh, can you read? Is it a pen? What kind of ball is coming at you? What's the number?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
is that first of all, is that realistic? Can you, like, half the time I was guessing, then I'd almost be like stressed, like how can I not see
Mm-hmm.
them? Is that just to make you focus harder? Should you actually get to that level of focus? What's your thought about that kind of classic tip of tell me what the ball is or the number is?
Yeah, I don't think you can see it because the ball will be spinning
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
99% of the time relatively fast, even like this on mini tennis. Once it hits the ground, it spins forward quite fast. So you can't see, like it will not stop for you to see it. But what you can see is you can see it in focus. Like you can see it,
Hmm.
like a phone, like you have a phone. And if you kind of point the phone into something, it's
Yes,
going to take a split second to focus.
yes.
The same thing happens with our eyes. They take a split second to focus, to find the right depth, like length, I don't know, in the muscles in the eye. And we need that moment for our brain to very accurately judge distance and speed to the ball, right? So that's what we can do. We can see the ball very clearly spinning, but we can't, it's spinning too fast to be able to see,
Hmm.
the brand on it.
Yes. Okay. Great.
Okay, so that was drill number one. So drill number two uh, is to see the ball in focus after your partner has hit it. So before the bounce on your side. So now you shift your focus a little bit on the other side and you try to see the ball. So as it's leaving the racket from Kaya, so right at is that moment, I try to see the ball then in focus. So it's a little bit
Hmm.
further away. And in a way, it's harder to see. It's a smaller ball, it's further away. But this is also important for reading the ball, right? So in this moment, as the ball is coming there, at this moment, you must try to see the ball in focus. Again, you will not see it spinning, right? You will not see it, like you will not see the lettering, but you can see it in focus if you pay attention. You can see it clearly. Um, I tell my players, you can see I wear glasses, right? I don't have perfect eyesight, but I play with, usually I wear contacts when I play tennis, and it's not 20/20 vision, but I see the ball clearly in every moment of its ball flight. On the other side, as it leaves the racket, I see the ball very, very clearly spinning. Whatever way it's spinning, I can read the spin direction from 60 feet away on the ball very clearly. Then the ball bounces. I see the ball very clearly. After I hit the ball, I see the ball very clearly as it flies off my racket. How is it spinning? How fast is it spinning? Is it sideways, forward, backward, however? So the only time I don't really see the ball super clearly how it's spinning is after the bounce on the other side, when it's like already 50, 60 feet away, 70 feet away. and is kind of going that way, then I don't really pay so much attention to that ball flight and I don't see so clearly. But in all other three ball flights, like I see the ball very, very clearly. And normally players that I coach don't see the ball so well. But when I bring their attention to the ball, then they raise in a way their concentration, their focus, and then they see the ball much better. And when they see the ball much better, then they judge the ball much better. They judge the depth and the spin and how it's going to behave. So
Hmm.
here's a variation then to mix up the shots a few play a little bit slice, some top spin, some flat shots, so that the ball then flies differently, spins differently, and then you ask the player, do you see these variations on the ball flight?
All right, very good.
All right, so far
Hmm.
so good.
Yes, absolutely, Thomas. Great stuff.
Great. So now we go drill number 3. You combine both. So now we were doing separate. See the ball after the bounce was drill number 1. Then drill number 2 was here in the first ball flight. Now you ask the player both. Did you see the ball both times really clearly? And then I ask players to give me yes, yes, right?
Mm.
Yes, yes, I saw it, or yes, no, or no, yes, or no, no.
Mm.
So I also, that's how I keep them on their toes, because they have to tell me after, the moment I hit the ball, they have to
Yeah.
report to me, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes,
Uh-huh.
to see how they're reading the ball, right? So that's drill number 3, combine both. Did you see the ball in focus before the bounce and after the bounce?
Mm. Out
And
of what's
I
kind of
mix
the
up a little bit
averages?
the spins.
Is everybody different? Do you notice a certain pattern in ages and skill level from 3.0 to 4.0? Like, what are some of the common things you're seeing as far as level or age, or is it just kind of all over the map from student to student, very individual?
No, it's very related to skill level. It's one of the components that actually defines the skill level. So let's say a 4.0 player will do exercise much better. They are already on some level watching the ball better than 3.0 level, and that's why they are 4.0 level. That's why I'm trying to get people to do it. It is this skill that they don't pay attention to. They think it's somehow like a windshield wiper is the solution to my forehand. They think I don't know some kind of movement, and when I know the movement of the forehand, I'm gonna jump from 3.0 to 4.0, right? That would be
Mm-hmm.
like a very naive way of thinking.
Mm.
But it is actually these perception skills that are making usually the main foundation of what is this difference in skill levels, right? So yes, the higher skill level the player is originally, the faster and the better they do the exercise, and the lower they are, the more they struggle with it, and then the more I bother them with it.
Yeah. As
And
you're
then I
saying this,
push them.
I'm thinking, I don't know if you've seen this guy on the internet, but there's a player who I think really just embodies what you're talking about right now. They call him Mep, the most exhausting player in the world, and his name's
I've
Ben.
heard of him. Yeah, I think I saw one rally. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, he
Yes.
has awful, traditional technique, right?
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely works for him, but his anticipation
Mm-hmm.
of where the ball is going and his ability to always find the contact point, no matter how awkward his racket approaches the ball,
Yeah.
and then where to put it on the other side is just
Yes.
like, it's uncanny. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just watching it in amazement. And he routinely beats people that when you watch them warm up, you're like, oh, this guy's going to kill him, and
Mm-hmm.
then they play, and all of a sudden, all these crazy mistakes start happening from the other side. They start, getting tired. Then they start talking to the camera about how nervous they are, and, and what a nightmare it is. And Ben's just
Yes.
like, yeah, he's just like, oh, he's so calm. It's very interesting. So I think he definitely sees the ball
Yeah.
very early compared to a lot of club players.
Mm-hmm. I also
Yeah.
use, the term many times when I talk to my players. They have to pay attention to invisible skills, right? Everyone can
Hmm.
see the visible skills of
Mm.
technique, but you don't see the invisible skill,
I
meaning
love
how
that.
well is the opponent perceiving the ball. And we had those
Yeah.
5 bullet points. You don't know what is their skill level from 1 to 10 maybe they're 9 out of 10 on those, and you can't see it. They're just normal guy. They're walking. They can be skinny or overweight or high or tall or small or whatever, short, doesn't matter. You have no idea what is their invisible skill, and
Invisible
you must not
skills.
underestimate, your opponent and judge them based on visible skills, right? You're gonna pay the price many times until you learn, right? So I think that player would do these drills very easily that I'm giving them and say, well, this
Mm.
is too easy. Give me something more difficult, right?
Invisible skills. I love that. That is really good. See,
Yeah.
that's why we do this. This is so great. Okay, continue on.
So drill number 4, say hit exactly when partner hits the ball. So now I do some modification of the drills that Timothy Galway came up with in his Inner Game of Tennis. I think the book was written 1974. And he has this famous bounce hit exercise that is really, really, really good drill. And, we must not forget about the genius of that exercise. And I use variations of that exercise. I don't just use bounce hit. Uh, I come from different angles around that. So the first variation is to say hit when our partner hits the ball. So it's easier on short court, but more tricky on the other side. I mean full court. And this is where a lot of players already have a big problem because they are not really paying attention to these moments. So you see here, Kaya just hit the ball, and they're not really watching the ball all over the 78 feet court, and we're 80 feet apart typically or more. And it's really far, and tennis ball appears very, very small at that distance, like a millimeter or two if you put like this. And that is like the first thing that players don't pay attention to, and then they wonder why don't have a split step, right? Oh, I need to learn the split step. My split step is out of sync. I'm just jumping, but I don't know why. I don't know the right time. This feels very weird to me. It's because the split step is basically just kind of physically demonstrating or showing us the level of alertness that you have mentally. And if you know mentally when the contact is going to happen, then the split step is going to like come out quite naturally because
Mm.
you're in a way like a goalie in soccer or in handball. You're like a goalie, or in hockey, and you need to now react to the direction where the ball is going to go. And at this moment when opponent hits the ball, that's your like highest level of alertness, because now you're going to have to push yourself left or right or run forward for a drop shot. And so
That-
with this simple drill where they have to say hit, when I hit, for example, when I'm coaching them, they have to say hit. I'm guiding their attention to this moment, and I kind of making them watch the ball and the opponent and the racket coming into the ball, and raising their alert level so that they will read the ball coming out of the racket very quickly
Mhm.
and react to it. So that's the easiest version to start with, where they have to say hit. So maybe one more thing before we go to the next drill. The goal here is that they exactly match the sound, because we hear the sound of, for example, if they play with me, they rally with me. So when I hit the ball, there will be a sound. Obviously, it will pop, and they need to match their sound. So I need to hear their voice and the sound of my hitting exactly at the same time.
Hmm.
And at first, they're always late. They're late. So
Mhm.
they see. So in my ears, it goes like this: hit, hit. I hear my
Mm.
sound half a second, 1 second delayed, then they say hit, which means they were not anticipating the contact. They were not watching. They don't know when the contact will happen. So they're late. They're late, and that's why their split step will be late and their reaction will be late. They need to learn to anticipate exactly the moment of contact. And so that will also raise their alert level and be ready. And so a variation of this is that they can replace the saying of the hit with the word split.
Mm.
So when I hit the ball, they can say split and remind themselves to do something with their
Mhm.
feet to prepare and split
Mhm.
step.
Mhm. Mhm. Very good. Very
All
good.
right. Next
Yes.
variation, say top when the ball passes through the top of its flight. This is a variation that teaches them to judge the first ball flight so that they can judge the ball better. So I kind of direct their attention to the first ball flight. By the first ball flight, I mean the flight before the bounce. So it's like that's the first ball flight, and then the ball bounces, and second ball flight. Just that we're on the same page. So when I ask them to tell me stop when the ball is on the top, they are forced to really observe the ball on the other side and judge it and read it and say top, and I then evaluate, how accurate they are. And this is again quite like demanding for many players because they're not used to watching the ball there on the other side. They're kind of passive with their attention to the ball until the ball bounces. And when the ball bounces, they start really paying attention to it. And then they start preparing the racket. And then we say, well, you're preparing too late, prepare early.
Mm.
But that is just the reason why they're preparing too late is because they're not paying attention to the first ball flight because it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult. The ball is far, it's small. They were not taught, they were not trained to do that. Maybe they didn't play any sport like that. And so they're not trained to observe the ball like that. They just pay attention. So let's say if I pause here, like here, they're just kind of watching the ball here, and that's where tennis begins for them. And
Yeah.
now they're preparing late, and we tell them to prepare early, but that's not going to solve the problem because they are not paying attention to the ball flight. So when we teach them to pay attention to the first ball flight and read it better, then if we tell them prepare earlier and on the first ball flight, then they can actually do it and it will make sense to them.
That's fantastic. This is really, really great stuff.
All right, so then I combine call out hit and top. So hit from Kaya. So let's say now, so hit if I'm the student. So I have to say hit now when she hits and top now when the ball is on top of the flight. So again, in a way, torturing their attention. It's very
Hmm.
mentally demanding. If you do this with a
Yes,
3.0,
that would.
4.0
I didn't want to stop
level,
your presentation, but I was going to ask you. I bet you people they might even be more tired than if you had them doing some cardio work. Would you say
yes,
people are kind of like tired after your lessons when they
yes,
do
they are
this?
mentally tired. Yes, it is
Hmm.
mentally very demanding because they're not used to it. And it's mentally demanding. And we do this 5 to 10 minutes maximum, and then we take a little break, and they drink some water, and we chat a little bit for them to mind to, to take a breather, and then we
Hmm.
go and do some technical stuff or whatever is the main topic of the day, right?
Hmm.
But yes, it is mentally demanding, and also I think it also helps them appreciate, that another player that can do that easily is actually way, way more skilled than them in these invisible skills.
Hmm.
And they can do that easily. And for them, it's very difficult mentally. And they have to realize, okay, I need to improve this skill of mine, this kind of mental stamina that I can track the ball this well and be able to judge it well. So it is mentally demanding, yes.
All right, I have a question for you. After they do this warm up and you do it, then you give them a couple minutes, and then you go into your next drill.
Mhm.
Do they typically, and I'm talking about the first couple minutes back on the court, do
Mhm.
they typically pick up where they left off and hit the ball better, or do they kind of check out for a couple minutes because now their mind is relaxed and they almost get like sloppy again because they space out after being that
Yeah.
focused? What is
Mhm.
the typical result?
The typical result, if I don't, it's up to me more. It's up to
Uh-huh.
me, or up to the coach, right? So if I immediately start throwing stuff at them and we're doing balance, technique, whatever technical corrections that we're doing, then of course they will lose attention to that. And I don't mind because that is now, we've done that drill. It's let it sink a little bit. We will
Mm-hmm.
repeat every day and it'll get
Mm.
better.
Mm.
But if I don't, and I say, let's just rally now a little bit from the baseline, then immediately it's better. It's much better
Okay.
without any instruction. They now see the rhythm, they see the ball, they will say, oh, I feel more time, I have good rhythm, because I ask them, because I see I see instantly much better rhythm and time. They become smoother. They're calmer. They're more calm because they perceive more time. The strokes are smoother. They hit cleaner. And then I ask them, okay, what happened, right? Why are you playing better? And they will report to me like, I have better rhythm and I feel more time. That's the simplification.
Hmm.
That's what we want them to achieve. So yes, if I leave them alone and we just rally, yes, much better.
Okay, great.
Yes. All right, few more drills to go. So I'm basically, starting with very easy version of this, and then I start to increase the difficulty. So here we can kind of separate and we call out just bounce on our side. So we're gonna later string together hit and bounce, come to the bounce hit exercise. We can do it two ways. We can do it hit and bounce, as you will see, or we can do bounce and hit. So hit and bounce means Kaya hits. I have to call out hit and bounce on my side. So we're going to see that in the next drill. Or we can start from the other side. We can do it the other side and we call out bounce hit, so our hit. And so the first thing is to call out the bounce on our side. And I like to replace this with, instead of saying bounce, I tell players to say down, down, so that, they load their legs and they go down with the ball. And that's what rhythm is. Rhythm typically for a normal ball that is not like a moon ball or very fast low ball or a skidding slice, but like a typical rally ball that we're going to hit the most times in our life. Then on a typical rally ball, we go down with our legs, unless we have to get out of the way like this. We go down, so you can't see me, but if I will go down when the ball goes down, and I will rise when the ball goes up. A little bit variations depending where I'm hitting it, but this is a typical rhythm, and that's why you just want to point out this variation of saying down when the ball goes down, when it hits the ground, or you can say bounce.
Hmm.
So that's the next drill to get into the rhythm.
Yeah. Another thing that I like to do, I like to do these bounce hit drills too, and I think one thing that will help club players out there is typically it's the bounce hit drill, but
Mm-hmm.
as we point out earlier in this talk, is especially club tennis is so unpredictable,
Mm-hmm.
and so through teaching club tennis, I came up with the term, hit what you can hit and make what you can't hit, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'll have them when they see it bounce and they feel like they can hit it with the
Mm-hmm.
best technique they're capable of, they'll say hit. If then they have to realize, where are their 50-50 balls? Where are the balls that they're starting to make 50% of the time and they hit it and miss 50% of the time? Then I tell
Mm-hmm.
them those balls, I just want you to yell bump or say bump. So
Mm-hmm. Yes.
bounce hit or bounce bump so that you
Mm-hmm.
don't swing at something that you
Yeah.
really are not in any kind of balance or preparation for, and to be more aware
Mm-hmm.
of that. And when that happens, don't worry about, the beautiful follow through and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's
Yes.
just make the ball.
Yes, very good point. I think people should just quickly make a note of this, what you just said, and add it to this list of drills so that they have more variations. Variations are also important. Like for me, when I was a coach in like training juniors in a club or an academy, they get bored with the same drill, right? So you have to make them do rhythm drills, but you have to make it interesting. So that's why you need to have a lot of variations for them to find it interesting, but actually you're practicing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So the same is for every player, even adult, right? Things can get boring, same thing. Unless you're pro, then you don't care. You do what you have to do. But it's good to have these variations, right? So here's a variation. Instead of bounce hit, we're doing hit bounce. I like to do that way because I want to bring the attention of the player to the other side so that you can replace this hit bounce with split down, right? So that there you want to encourage them to split step so they pay attention to the contact on the other side, and then down when the ball goes down. So that's another variation of the drill. Instead of bounce hit, hit bounce. So let's see where's the next variation. Okay, so here we have observe the spin. Let me just see if I skip. Okay, this one, yeah. We skipped one. So the most difficult variation of this drill is to add your own hit, right? So you have to say hit, bounce, hit. So hit, when Kaya hits the ball, I have to say hit. When the ball hits the ground, I have to say bounce. And when I hit, I have to say hit. So hit,
Mm-hmm.
bounce, hit. I torture players sometimes with this for a while. And it really raises their alert level, and they start to notice how quickly tennis is going. There's a rhythm that keeps going, pam, 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 and they raise their focus because they realize the tempo of the ball exchange, and then they realize that usually they're a bit more sleeping, in their mind. They're kind of not really so engaged, not so active, and then they realize why they're late, right? Either late with the preparation or late hitting the ball. It's just because they're not alert enough to all these events, if we call them like that. When opponent hits the ball, that's like one event that changes the ball's trajectory, and then the bounce is an event that changes the ball trajectory, and then when we hit the ball, that's another event. So we need to kind of pay attention to these moments in time and the whole ball flight. And when you make them say hit, bounce, hit, then it really pushes them to pay attention to the ball really, really well. And when they do it, then the rhythm comes in, their mind kind of becomes completely focused. All thoughts about technique are gone. They don't think about technique anymore. And now their mind is completely focused on the ball flight, and now they can judge the ball really well. There's no more, distraction there. And then the best of their ability comes out, and then they feel the rhythm, they see the ball, and they experience that. Basically, they get into the zone like that, and then they experience how that is. And it is wonderful. Some of us play just tennis like that. Like, for example, I don't play points anymore. I just hit the ball, and I just enjoy being in the zone and hitting the ball.
Me too.
Yeah, and
I love it.
yeah, and that's what it is, right? And that's how we help players really become immersed completely on the ball, and time it well, and then they see this kind of, invisible part of tennis. We're talking about invisible skills, and how enjoyable it is. It's like, for me, it's a meditation in movement. Tennis, I'm
Yeah.
completely immersed onto one ball, one moment, like meditation. You want to keep something in your mind, you're following your breath, for example. It's just that we're doing this with the tennis ball and we're moving, so I
Yeah.
think it's better.
Yeah. Yeah. That meditation and movement and then hit. And like you said, you just like to hit. And that's what I love to do too. And I tell people, like, two of the most enjoyable things, I love sports, and two of the most enjoyable things to me in sports are having a catch with somebody. I just love having a catch with somebody. But
Hmm.
then the rhythm of just rallying with somebody cross court has got to be one of the
Hmm.
most satisfying things in all of
Hmm.
sport, if you're
Hmm.
decent at it, that I can possibly think of. So very, very, very good stuff. Oh, here's another question. I think this is a
Should.
good one. And it's certainly been all over the place. We had it last year. What do you think of that Saber racket? If you guys don't know the Saber racket, it's the very small racket head
Hmm.
that even I noticed a lot of pros do have in their bag. I've seen
Hmm.
Wawrinka hit with it, Sinner. What are your
Yep.
thoughts on it? Have you ever hit with it?
Yeah, I have it. I bought it and I used it. I think it's a very good idea, but the player needs to be, I would say, at least 3-5 maybe, to
Hmm.
play short court. Because if 3-5, 4-0 maybe, to play short court tennis, because if they're not, they're gonna just keep framing the ball and it will frustrate the hell out of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
It is
Yeah.
really difficult, even like
Yeah.
for me to play with
Yeah.
that. Like, really, it really, in a way, focuses you. I mean, the of course, it's just basically a bit bigger sweet spot, and it's in the right spot. It's the right distance from the
Hmm.
hand and so on. But
Yeah.
it is difficult, and
It
the
is.
danger. So the danger, I would say, is that if the player is not good enough with hand-eye coordination, it might frustrate them too much. So they need to be good enough to frustrate them a little bit, so that mostly they're hitting, like, I would say, like 3/4 of the time they need to hit the ball, like 75% they need to hit the strings, and maybe a quarter or less they need to miss for them to feel some kind of, progress, or makes sense to them to practice. If they're hitting 50-50, they will be very frustrated. So that's my only. It is very difficult. I can do mini tennis, for example, fine. I will rarely miss the ball, but I tried from the baseline, and I will not be so super clean on the ball.
Yeah.
And so that's my only, like, we play it more for mini tennis, and it really kind of makes you focus on the ball, really try to hit the sweet spot. I think it's a really good idea, but just have to be careful that you don't start with a beginner or like lower intermediate level, because they will frame the ball all the time, and then they'll be very frustrated.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, I did a best year ever challenge earlier this year, and
Hmm.
Mariana, if you're out there, she's been watching a lot of our live streams, and she actually made these tumblers. She's the one who
Uh-huh.
made them, and she won the fast track. She's also in first place. She's a great student. She's in first place here in the this challenge as well. But so she won a saber, and then later I talked to her about it. She's like, "I hate that saber. I hate it."
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very tricky. So I would use it for mini tennis to make the mind be very focused and very gentle hitting and trying to hit the ball. And then I leave it alone, and over time gradually use it maybe for about three-quarter distance, rallying gently, just to make you focus on the ball. But it is difficult. It is difficult
Yeah.
training aid to use.
Mm.
Challenging.
Okay, my friend. Let's continue on. Now we have a
Let's
couple
go.
more
Drill
questions I
11.
see, which we will get to. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we're drill 11.
Mm.
Observe the spin of the ball after the bounce. This one is interesting because 99.99% of the time, the ball spins forward after the bounce.
Hmm.
Whatever way it was hit, even if it was hit with backspin, once it hits the court, it's going to turn around and hit forward. And I like to make players realize that.
Mm.
I asked them, well, which way is the ball spinning? Is it spinning backward? And then I vary my shots a little bit, like gently. I hit with slice, I hit side spin, I hit flat, I hit top spin. And then they realize, oh, it's forward, right?
Mm.
So I think the only way, I don't have really proof for that. I will try to record one time with like a slow motion camera where the ball still spins backwards, is with very fast backspin slice with a lot of backspin on a hard court, for example. Then the ball will not completely turn its rotation. It's going to still spin backwards a little bit. I That's the way I see it, right? It's a very short amount to see it. So like in my memory, I see it that way, but I would like to record that one day. But it has to be very, very fast backspin slice for the ball not to turn around and hit to go topspin. And so this is a little bit different than the first drill where I ask players to see the ball in focus. Now I'm pushing their attention further, and I asked them, do you see the ball spinning, and how is it spinning?
Mm.
And now we go to the another variation, observe the spin on the other side. So now, before we were just asking the player to see the ball in focus, and now I'm asking them to see how is the ball spinning. So not only which direction. So right now, Kaya hit a little bit of topspin.
Yeah.
So I want them to see that. I also torture them a bit. Like, I ask them, what's the rate of spinning? Is it spinning fast or slow, and so on? And that really kind of raises their attention, their focus to see. So have the partner vary the spins and call them out, right? So now you see she played a slice. So this is like a flat ball.
Yeah.
And so I ask the player, read the spin. Because one very important thing here, if we stop like on this topic for a moment, uh, I would say up to 4-0 level, players do not read the spin well on the other side. And then when the ball bounces, of course, based on the spin, it's going to bounce differently. If it's a lot of top spin, it's going to go a bit further, faster forward or higher. Backspin is going to either skid very low, or it's going to kind of hang dead in the air. Flatter ball will go like default. And they oftentimes like lunge for the ball, or they're too
Hmm.
far, they're leaning, and so on. and they think something's wrong with their footwork or with their stroke, but actually they didn't see the spin and predict. We need to predict in advance how the spin is going to change the bounce compared to a default bounce that we're expecting, right? And
Yes.
so 3-0 level, 3-5 level does absolutely not see the spin of the ball on the other side and put it into calculation in their mind how the ball is going to bounce differently based on the spin, and that keeps surprising them over and over
Mm.
again. The bounce keeps surprising them, and then they think it's their footwork, but it's actually not reading the spin on the other side. And we have to kind of push them to do that. So this is one way to do that, because
Yeah.
otherwise you cannot really play any decent level of tennis if you, like, in a way, don't predict the variation of the bounce based on the spin on the other side. The ball will keep, shocking you how
Yeah.
it's bouncing.
Yeah. Guys, this is so important what he's saying right now, because I've given unlimited amount of lessons. I don't know how many lessons I've given, and through the years, when people miss shots, I'll ask, like, when did you see the ball was going to, like, kind of hurt you a little bit? When did you
Mm-hmm.
notice there was something different about this ball? And the answer is usually on the bounce or after the bounce.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
rarely, when you were hitting the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you're talking about these invisible skills. There's also these invisible killers, kind of, where
Exactly.
you're not noticed that it's easy sometimes to tell when someone hauls off and hits the ball very hard. You're like, okay, this ball's
Mm-hmm.
coming fast. But
Mm-hmm.
to be able to tell, like, okay, this ball is coming an extra 2 or 3 miles an hour, or two or
Mm-hmm.
three miles an hour less, or it's just got this little bit of special spice to it that you're not
Yep.
seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that you miss a lot. Lots
Mm-hmm.
of times you can actually brace for a fastball and just tap it back, and you get those back quite
Mm-hmm.
successfully, a lot more than you do these little subtle nuances to the
Mm-hmm.
ball. These are the
Yep.
ones where you're just littering the stats sheet with unforced errors. So this is huge right here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so very important to read the spin, and we can tell them, but I ask them to tell me to really make sure that they're paying attention. So they need to tell me slice, and you will not believe I coached. Sometimes I use a big foam ball like this big, that's red and yellow, and it's like very obvious the spin. And I have like a 3-0 player, and I hit the ball, and I ask them, is this ball spinning forward or backward? So before we agree on that, because they even don't know what forward means, right? They don't know which way to look at the ball, because backspin, the bottom part spins forward to you. That's also forward, right? So we agree on that, and I play very gently mini tennis with them, and I spin the ball, and it's like very obvious, and I ask them which way is it spinning, and they will say, I don't know.
Mm,
And they're playing tennis 10 years. They can play
mm,
tennis 10 years. So they're somewhere 3-0, 3-5. And they don't know. They're like, I'm not sure which way the ball is spinning. Big yellow red foam ball spinning this slow. And I obviously sometimes slice it, sometimes spin it. They don't see me even behind. In what way am I hitting? They have no perception of that. Like, we are not even now on the topic of observing the player's movement. We're just watching the ball. And they play tennis 10 years, and they say, I don't know. And then let's do it again. Let's do it every day, every time. Let's do it for 5-10 minutes, and they soon become better. But it's like shocking,
yeah.
at what low level their perception skills are.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so
That's
now
great.
combination, calling the spin before and after the bounce. So we've determined after the bounce it's going to be top spin, but I still want them to pay attention to that, get the ball into focus, and really see the whole trajectory of the ball. So before the bounce and after the bounce. So they need to tell me, how is the ball spinning? Sideways, forward, fast, low. Sometimes I ask them, when I hit the ball like relatively flat, like let's say maybe this ball that I just hit here. See, I'm just kind of pushing it. And let's say if Kaya was my student, and I can see from my perspective, right, that maybe this ball is going to spin around 5 times. I can see it. It's just tumbling through the air like this. And I can literally count more or less, now not exactly to 5, but I know it's not more than 10. I can count. Then I start asking them, how many times did the ball turn around in space if it's very slow? And that's another shock, to their system. Like, wow, I need to see that. And when I go slow, then they start to realize, oh, I can see roughly, right? Is it 5 or 6 or it's more than 10? When it's more than 10, we can't count anymore. But that's another way how I, make them focus on the ball. I ask them how many times did the ball turn around.
Good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. So let's go. Drill 14. Compare the rate of spinning before and after the bounce. So how fast is the ball spinning before the bounce, after the bounce? Did it change rotation from top spin to back spin? So again, 3-0 player oftentimes will not be able to tell for a while, maybe for a few minutes or for a couple of lessons. They will not be able. They're not used to perceiving the ball like that. They just see a blurry yellow thing spinning around. They can't. So we need to, help them with that and make them train their visual skills and attention to the ball so that they become better at that. Because again, if they don't see the rotation of the ball coming out of opponent's racket, the ball will keep surprising them on the bounce, and then you are stuck at 3 level. There's no way you can go higher if the ball keeps surprising you and you cannot position in advance or start your stroke a bit earlier, reading that the spin is going to accelerate and you don't adjust your timing. I don't think you can go beyond 4-0 unless you're a super master pusher, moonballer 4-0 level. You cannot go much further. All right.
Yeah.
I think we have one more drill.
Okay.
Okay, this is a variation again. On a sunny day, you can ask the player which part of the ball is sunny, where's the bright side of the ball, and which one is in the shade. So that's like another, their brain goes like, oh, wait a minute. I can actually see that. So on a sunny day, you can ask them that, and then, they're going to observe the ball again in a different way with a different level of attention. And then they can say, for example, oh, I see it's more on the right side. The sunny side is more on the right side. The shady part of the ball, the darker side of the ball is on the left side, and so on. So it's just another way to add some variation to the skill of paying attention to the ball and reading. And as they watch the ball like that, well, then they start tracking the whole ball flight, because my objective is not for them to be masters of calling out these little elements of the ball flight. I want them to read the ball really well, because then their timing will adjust and their feet will adjust to the bounce, and then they're going to have much better technique at the end of the day, and they will hit the ball much cleaner. And that is the final goal, right? So these are the
This
skills that help them do that.
this was excellent. We'll go through a couple questions just to finish, and we have been going well over an hour, so we'll probably let everybody go here relatively soon, including Thomas. So, do you have any tips for those that play doubles to help us with rhythm, since we aren't always hitting the ball?
Doubles is an absolute chaos. It's chaos. I don't know. I don't have any super special tips. If you're not hitting the ball, you have to keep changing your position, right?
Yeah.
You have to come closer to the net, and then further from the net, more to the middle, to kind of guard the middle and guard the hole. And so I would only say, like, pay attention, maybe in practice sometimes, to the sound of the hits and the bounces. Like, hear this sound, pack, 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 and kind of move, like, keep that sound in your mind and move accordingly. But basically, you have to be alert like a goalie. You're like a goalie, and you're constantly alert, and you're all the time expecting the worst situation, right? So at any time the ball can come at you, and so that kind of keeps your alertness high, but you don't really have a rhythm in terms of hitting, like your stroke has no rhythm, and your legs have no rhythm to go down up with the ball because you don't have like any cue with the ball. And so I would feel more like a goalie in soccer, football. I'm all the time ready. I don't know at any time who's gonna hit at me, the person on the baseline, or like my partner's gonna hit at the net player there, and they're gonna hit at me. So I would say there's no real kind of rhythm for the when you're not hitting the ball, just being highly alert and ready for anything.
Hmm. One thing I will say though is got to watch the Bryan brothers. It was very interesting too because it was where they came in and they played some college players and also some club pros who,
Mhm.
you could tell the club pros used to be good, but were way out of practice. I mean, that was the biggest discrepancy there. And my better half, Yvonne, who's not really a tennis player, she's like, look at them. Like everything they do, even before the point starts, they like are in sync.
Yes.
So the more you can sync up with the ball, and then if you have a partner good enough to actually, that's a whole other ball game. That's probably not going to happen too much in club tennis, but it was just like where I think lots of times club players feel like, okay, they're hitting the ball, so like I'm not. It's like it's not my turn, like so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I'm going to go on lunch break now, and
Hmm.
then hopefully I'll wake up when the ball comes to me, rather than
Hmm.
like you were saying earlier, soccer,
Hmm.
basketball. Some
Hmm.
of our greatest, I love basketball. So some of the greatest players, especially shooters that we think of, one thing that they're always saying is they move so well off the ball, meaning that
Hmm.
when
Yes.
they are not having the ball in their hand, they're
Hmm.
still moving, they're still strategizing, they're
Hmm.
getting open, they're working off
Hmm.
picks, they're
Yes.
reading the defense. So if you can think of yourself more like, because we always, tennis, it's a lot like golf to where the technique can make us always be thinking about ourselves and individual. But when you choose to
Hmm.
play doubles, now you're in a team game. So the more you
Yes.
can think like you're in a team sport, like a soccer or a basketball, and learn to move
Hmm.
off the ball and not that, well, how do I wake up when the ball finally comes to me, and realize that you're always playing. It's not just that
Hmm.
you're playing when the
Yes.
ball comes to you. And the
That's
more
right.
you can do that, you'll play in a much better rhythm. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can sync with your partner and the ball,
yeah,
in moving with the ball. And that's why I say, be ready for kind of the worst case scenario, right? It's like
yeah,
at any time the ball can come at you and you keep that high alert level,
right.
then you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, she says, thanks for that. Let's see, do we have any other? I know there was one. We'll end with this question. And then as he's answering this question, I have a question. How
Hmm.
many of you watching, guys, this right, I am, if you are, how many of you guys watching are I bet you most of these people are lifetime members because that's how dedicated you are. So if you've already become a lifetime member, say I am. If you're not, say I'm not. And I wonder if there's anybody who's even not a lifetime member on this live stream, because you guys have been pretty consistent. I keep seeing the same names, and most of you are members. Okay, what about this right here? The racket path.
Yes, you can predict. Of course, you can predict the spin. So what I like to say is that you need to confirm it by reading the spin rate, because if I hit the ball flat, relatively flat, or with a bit more top spin, I will use from the distance of 80 feet, you looking at me, it will look the same. It will look more or less the same, like unless I go like Rafael Nadal over my head, then you'll say, oh, that's a lot of top spin. You're not going to see my hand here from the distance of 80 feet, making a big difference. So I can spin the ball. Let's say if I can estimate like about 2 to 3 times faster, I can increase the rate of top spin, and you will not see it from the distance of 80 feet, 24, 25 meters. So the stroke technique, you will see low to high, and it tells you it's not a slice. That's all that it tells you, and it will tell you this is spinning forward. But I tell my players, please confirm that with the seeing of rate of spinning in the air, and also with your ears. You can hear the amount of spin I'm putting on the ball. You will hit a flatter shot, more pop, or more spin. It's going to be more like shk on the ball. So let's say if you put like headphones on my ears and I don't hear the sound, I will struggle. Like I will struggle in tennis if I don't hear the sound and you like make me deaf and I just watch the opponent. It's immediately a problem in terms of interpreting the ball. Or if you give me glasses and I'm or like contacts, you take my contacts and I see the movement, but I don't really see the spin. Problem. I can tell you immediately. Problem. I will not do it well. So my answer to you is you need to confirm the rate of spinning. The swing path only tells you what type of spin you're getting, but not the rate. A little bit, maybe the speed can tell you, but I can hit quite fast speed, but go flatter on the ball. So I would say you need to confirm your suspicion, your prediction with the sound and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the ball, how fast is it spinning in the air. Then the brain gets enough data to predict in what way you need to adjust to that particular ball.
That's great. Guys, I put the link in the chat one more time. This long link right here. This is the link that you can get Thomas's 15 drills right there. So make sure you take advantage of that. It's also in your email. Uh, I don't know if you've seen on the internet, there's a show called Hot Wings, where after the person goes through all the torture of eating the wings, then the host asks, "All right, that camera, that camera, that camera, what you got going on?" So I'm going to do that with you to end this. What do you have going on? How can people get closer to your coaching, and what are currently like your coaching days like these days? What are you doing?
Well, I'm coaching strangely. I mean, usually towards this end of the summer and in the fall, it's kind of more towards the end of the season. And most of the previous years, I don't have such a full schedule. But this year's October, November, every year, every week, I'm coaching. I have a typical package that I offer to players because they're mostly coming from abroad for lessons with me, and I give them a 5 day package, either 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, which means two in the morning, two in the afternoon. So 5 days, 4 hours a day, that's 20 hours. And in this amount of time, we can make significant changes to technique and rhythm and so on. And so that's kind of like what I offer to players. I think shorter amount of time is not um, it's not good. We can't really stabilize anything. We can make breakthrough sometimes in short amount of time, but I think 5 days is a very good time to stabilize some new technique. And then of course I give them an action plan and they can work on it further. So that's what I've been doing for the last actually 10 years,
Mm.
offering lessons to players that come from abroad. They come from all over the place, from USA, from Europe, from any other
Wow.
place. um, and that's what I've been doing all the time, and it's been very busy. So better busy than bored, and I like my work. I'm happy to do it. I'm not bored. I'm not bored.
Uh,
It's very
uh,
interesting to me. I like to
uh-huh.
do it. I like to help. It's always an interesting challenge to solve a problem with a new player. I see them first time. Okay, now what? I have to solve the problem very
Yeah,
quickly. And so yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it's gonna be busy until the end of the year, and then I have a little break to
all right.
plan the next year.
Well, looks like Pierce wants to visit you. I hope to get there in October. I assume he's mean next October.
Maybe
So,
next October. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
guys,
so
if
they
you,
can reach out through my website, fieldtennis.net. They go through my contact page. I will soon post something on about my coaching offer on my website.
mhm.
I'm trying to come up with a very clear offer what I offer, and I think it will be up in 2 weeks. I hope so
Oh,
because I'm working on that to make it very clear what I offer. But right now, you just email me, and I will give you an answer in the email. Uh, what you can expect, what you get, and so on. So just reach out through my website if you want to get in touch.
that's great. Well, guys, definitely reach out to Thomas. He's definitely one of the masters out there of coaching, as you can tell from this presentation. You would just get so much wealth of knowledge and probably corrections and comfort. And so I definitely recommend that you do it. And Tomaz, thank you so much for being part of TennisCon all these years and coming on and sharing everything that you know about the game. We really, really love it.
I love it too. I really appreciate it. I'm always honored, to be invited by you. I appreciate it. We're all fellow coaches, and we like to share knowledge, and it's great. So I appreciate all the effort you put in. I mean, I cannot imagine the amount of hours you spend organizing all this, and I want to thank you in the name of all the coaches that we participate and also players for the organization. I'm doing online business, and I know the emails and all that, what's going on. So like, you're probably multiply this by 10 what I'm doing. And so I really appreciate your efforts of bringing us all together, and sharing all this knowledge with tennis players, and also giving them a free option. They don't have to buy anything, they can watch for free. So I think that's a really cool idea that you have, and yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I love it. Every year, I'm not gonna lie, the time of year comes like late spring, early summer, and I start to go, oh my gosh, gotta
Yes.
start putting this all together again. But
Yeah.
every time I get into the actual event, I'm always like, oh yeah, this is the best. So I love it. So
Yes.
it's great. So
It's great. Fantastic. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Okay, guys, have a great day. If you're on the free pass, day 5 is up there. If you are on the paid, I know that some of you are hungry for more points, and I believe that we have now 3 out of the 4 videos up for day 6. And I just, as we were actually on this live stream, I see that Will Hamilton's video is now fully edited, so that will be up too very soon. And so you guys go check that out, and we'll see you guys on the next live call. Take care.